Well, hi, Jivers. Hi. I'm back with the 26th book of 2026, recording this in March in 2025 in Great Yarmouth. And can I just say, if you can get through this book without crying, it's an absolute miracle. This book broke my heart. And I've seen the film, incidentally, and I've cried at the film. It doesn't cry at the film. Anyway, Lion by Saroo Brierley. Right, we all know the story of young Saroo Brierley, what happened to him. And here we are. Read the blurb. 5-year-old Saroo lived in a poor village in India in a one-room hut with his mother and 3 siblings until the day he boarded a train alone and got lost for 25 years. It's a story of what happened to Saroo in his 25 years, how he ended up on the streets of Calcutta and survived, how he ended up in Tasmania living the life of an upper-class Aussie, and how at 30 years old, with some dog determination, a heap of luck, and a power of Google Earth, he found his way back home. Lion is a triumphant true story of survival against all odds and a shining example of the extraordinary feats we can achieve when hope endures. Oh my god, I'm getting emotional, okay, just reading the blurb. Anyway, we know the story of young Saroo Brierley. What happened to him, okay? And this bit here. They're gone. I've been thinking about this day for 25 years and growing up half a world away with a new name and a new family, wondering ever I will see my mother and brother and sisters again. Now here I am standing at the door at the corner of a rundown building of a poor district in a small dusty town in central India, and the place I grew up and no one lives there. It's empty. The last time I stood here I was 5 years old. That's the thing. 5 years old the last time he stood there. Okay? Until he finds his way back to Ganesh Charlie to find his mother, brothers and sisters, Kamala, Guda, Kalu and Shakila. Right, he remembers the names of all his siblings, and his brother Guda and his mum Kamala. Kamala, sorry. My mind races with possibilities. What he's going to get? Someone might know what happened to them, an address even, but he's understood who I am. I don't have to wait. Long before he's back, then he says the words I'll never forget. Come with me, I'm going to take you to your mother. And the fact is, one thing I loved about this book is Saroo Brierley's family. The Brierley family in Hobart. I'll be honest, if you're going to adopt a child overseas, read this book, because the thing is, everything the Brieleys did was the best thing. They absolutely did the best thing in regards to their adoption. Sorry, this bit here. When I was growing up in Hobart, I had a map of India on my bedroom wall. My mother, my adoptive mother, Mum, had put it there to help me feel at home when I arrived from that country at the age of 6. I lived with them. In 1987, she had to teach me what the map represented. I was completely uneducated. I don't think I even knew what a map was, let alone the shape of India. Mum decorated a house with Indian objects. There were some Hindu statues, brass ornaments and bells, and lots of little elephant figures. I didn't know that there were normal objects to have in an Australian home. Right. The fact is, they cared so much, okay, about Saroo's culture that when he got there, they made it clear that his heritage was still important. They did their best. They were friends with another Indian family and also kept in contact with the other adoptees too. So the fact is, even though they didn't know Saroo's roots, he had a connection with his country. They did their best. This is how to do it. To actually not cut him off from his old life, but to always respect it, and for Saroo to know that it was there. Just for Saroo to know. And the thing is, when it come to Saroo's life, he was born in such hardship. It was unbelievable. And this bit here. Even from the age of 6, I would always accept 1981 as the year of my birth. I understood that I had been awarded a rare second chance. I quickly became Saroo Brierley. Now that I was safe and secure in my new home in Hobart, for perhaps it was something wrong to dwell on the past. That part of my old life was to keep the old one locked away. So, but the fact is, it doesn't work that way. He thought he could do that, but at times he starts to open up about his family, about his life, and also to let his parents know, okay, the Brieleys know that he does have a family out there. He's not 100%. He's not an orphan. There is a family, but of course that family couldn't be traced. So in a way, okay, it's making the Brieleys aware that I do have a family. I had a brother called Guda, and I had 2 other siblings, okay, and they are out there. Just to make them aware of this. But the brides couldn't do anything. Couldn't absolutely do anything. And the reality is this, is that when it comes to Saroo, flashing back to his life, right, here we are. When my mother went out, perhaps to see if she could get us more food, Gooder, his older brother, announced that he was leaving to go back to Bremenper. The thought of being left behind, as always, a little kid stuck at home with nothing to do was too much. Dublin said, I'm coming with you. It was early evening. If I went with him, there was little likelihood of him coming back late home that night, and we'd have to stay. He thought about it for a moment and he agreed. I was thrilled. We left Shakira on the floor and we went gone before my mother returned. Couldn't even be too worried with me and my brother's care. So out with Gooder. Now Gooder, who was several years older, was doing everything he could to actually support the family, even to the point he was arrested for selling toothpaste kits. Gooder, I have so much sympathy for. He was the eldest boy, the head of the family, if you will, because their father actually left Kamala, the mum, and all the pressure was on his shoulders. So he was just going to a new train station, trying to find some work, and took his brother with him. And the fate of the family was ripped apart in that terrible, terrible night. Right, because when Saroo goes down for a nap, wakes up and can't find his brother, he says onto another train, okay? And this bit here. I looked out into a different carriage and found no one, but the empty wooden bench seats were more comfortable and felt safer in the quiet station. Gooder would come and get me, soon smiling with perhaps with a treat he found while cleaning. There's plenty of room to stretch out. In a few moments I'll sleep peacefully again. But the thing is, when he wakes up, he's on a train. He's on a train, the train is moving, and he's moving further, further away from home. In its entirety, Saroo Brierley wound up 1,500 miles from home. It's absolutely shocking how he survived. Here you go. This bit here. This is when a Katie wakes up in Calcutta. The sight that made me feel sick, what struck me more powerfully, was it confirmed what I already began to feel, that every day in the city was a matter of life and death. There were danger everywhere, and everyone, there were robbers and people who took children and even killers. It opened up all sorts of fears. Was the world that my brother lived in when they went away? Was the reason that they never let me leave the stations when I travelled with them? What happened to Good at the train station? Where'd he got to? And why hadn't he been there when I woke up? Right. What did my family think had happened to me? Were they looking, or did they think I was dead, gone, lost forever? And the thing is, he wants to get back to his home, but the problem is, he cannot pronounce it. Saroo cannot pronounce the actual name. He's calling it Ganesh Tali, okay? Right, so Gintersley. Sorry, I beg your pardon. He's calling it Gintersley. How to pronounce the word Ganesh Tali? The name of his hometown is Ganesh Tali. His suburb is Ganesh Tali. And he doesn't know that information. And on the streets, he actually encounters some happiness, okay? And people actually do take care of him. And also, horrible, horrible situations, okay? When a train station agent takes pity on him and feeds him. And is nice, but then isn't. And then intends to pass him off to people who would hurt him. Now, one thing I loved about this book, even though it broke my heart, this was in 1986, is that it doesn't hold back how god-awful it is for orphans on the streets of India. It is absolutely terrible. In that time that he was around the station, Saroo got another train, but was wound up at the same one. He begged for food. People tried to pick him up. He tried to bathe in the river. He tried to find people who would take care of him. And that took a really, really long time. Here you go. Right. But the thing is, eventually, okay, he's actually found by a charity and actually takes him to safety. Beg your pardon. Here we are. Right. I was given food and put in a big paddy wagon with other children, both older and younger than me. We were driven through town to a building where the official-looking people gave us lunch and a drink. They asked me lots of questions. Even though I didn't always understand them, it was clear they wanted to know where I was from. They called my answers on their many forms, and Gintersley meant nothing to them. I struggled to remember the name of the place I boarded the train, but I could say my brother called it something like Birimpur? Right. But the thing is, although they took notes, I didn't really have a hope of finding those half-remembered names of comparatively tiny places that could be anywhere in the country. I didn't even know my full name. I was just Saroo. In the end, without knowing who I was or where to come from, I declared my status as lost. They were lost. He was lost. Saroo was lost. And the fact is that even though the first orphanage he's placed in, right, is the abuse suffered towards children in India, even though they're in an orphanage, okay, or a juvenile detention centre, right? Even then, they're in danger from the outside world, from terrible people who do terrible things to him. For those who've actually seen the film, this was covered when he's taken in by like a woman, and then who feeds him, takes care of him, and then turns to sell him on, and then Sue runs away. Do you remember that scene? That's not in the book. That actually was a film invention. But this bit here, there are other dangers which I avoided more than luck than anything else. Lil Howe was surrounded by high walls, but memories of seeing people climb over them from the outside and enter the buildings. And I also heard what they did, but kids ran out crying for the strangers escaped. I don't know if the staff didn't care or were powerless to protect us, but it was a large place, and I guess it was well known as a children's home. Some of the people who tried to capture me when I was on the streets didn't feel like walls and gates stopped them. Right. Yeah. Another thing that could have happened to him but didn't happen to him. By sheer luck. So in all this, at the next orphanage that he's taken to, he actually receives a lot of love and care. Absolutely. Okay. A place called Navajavan. And the fact is that this is him and another one. So run by them called Mrs. Sood. Now, in this, he's given the option to be adopted. And he takes the option because the fact that he has nowhere else to go, and he has seen and experienced hardships on the street and he wants to go back to. Even at the age of 5, Saroo knows that if he stays in India, his fate could be much worse. If he stays in that orphanage, eventually he'd age out of this. Eventually, someone could come to adopt him who'd be as unkind as that train station agent. So, even at that age, he knows, after he agrees to that adoption, it's best for him to go. Right. This bit here. I was leaving a place I'd been told was far away at a distant end of the world. No one ever talked about my coming back, and it seemed not to be of any concern. Everyone agreed I was very lucky. So I left India only a few days after I was told of my adoption, and a couple of months after I first arrived at the orphanage, which in today's more regulated process would never happen. Right, the 6 of us from Navajavan were flying to Australia, including my friend Azra, who was joined by 2 more children from a different orphanage for the journey. Right. So, and also the sadness came by saying goodbye to Mrs. Sood, because while his time at the orphanage, she took so much care of him, so much. And of course, when Saroo gets to Australia, came Mr. Brierley's, which was played in the film, okay, by David Wenham and Nicole Kidman. Incidentally, I just want to say this right now, okay, I've seen actually pictures, okay, of the real Sue Brierley. Now the thing is, in the film, they actually made Nicole Kidman look quite dowdy, okay. No, the real Mama Brierley, the real Sue Brierley, she's glam. She is. I mean, look at those pictures of her from the 1980s. She's a very glamorous woman. Just saying. So, hey, I just want to say that right now, okay? If the actual Saroo Brierley sees this, dude, your adoptive mum. Okay, anyway. Here we go. So when Saroo, okay, is in Hobart, he's trying to acclimatise to his family, and also one thing the Brierleys actually did was, prior to his adoption, send him pictures of them, of the house, of the bedroom, of Hobart, just to kind of make him understand this will be your new home. A little red photo book, which actually he does still have. Here you go. Right, this bit here. Best of all, there was my bedroom. I never had a room to myself. Both houses I lived in India were single rooms, and since then, of course, I've been in dormitories of other children. But I remember being intimidated about sleeping on my own, maybe because my time sleeping on the streets had made me used to it. I was afraid of the dark though, and required my bedroom door to be left open and a light on in the hall. Right, so here you go. And the thing is this, when Saroo describes his adoption, he was the Brierley family are amazing. Honestly, when I read this book, the love Saroo has for the Brierleys is so apparent. They are wonderful, wonderful people. Honestly, when he talks to Kay about his parents, they chose not to have children, even though they could. Because they chose not to have children, okay, so they could give love to children out there that actually needed them than having their own. Yeah. How wonderful are they? They are just wonderful, wonderful parents who did everything right in accordance to adoption. Now, the thing is this. When Saroo, been in the family together for several years, they've got the opportunity to actually adopt Mantosh. Now, One thing I will give the real Mantosh this, if he ever sees this review, by the way, I really respect the fact that you as Saroo's brother agreed to have your story told. I fully recognise that this could not have been easy for you to even explore. See, this is not just a book, okay, about Saroo's life story, it's also about Mantosh too. And even though Saroo did face hardship, he was still raising a family that was loving. Poor Mantosh never had that. It was due to circumstances beyond his control of essentially his family kind of breaking up and being left okay with a grandmother who could take care of him anymore. He wound up in an orphanage. He was abused quite badly as well. And the fact is, when he got to the Brierleys, he had issues with authority of actually, having a woman telling him what to do, if you will. And this bit here, because Mantosh's story is absolutely heartbreaking. The story we now know is this: Mantosh was born somewhere near Calcutta and grew up speaking Bengali. His mother fled the violent family home, leaving him behind, and he was sent to live with his frail grandmother, but she couldn't even look after herself properly, let alone a small boy as well. She had him over to the state, and eventually he ended up in the care of ISSA, Mrs. Adoption Agency, just as I. The legal process permitted an orphan to live in an orphanage for 2 months, while attempts were made to restore them to the family arranging adoption. Lucy was excited by the idea of placing him with the Brileys, and so we would be brothers. But Matosh's journey was way more complex due to the fact he abused he suffered in the past, and what he went through was so horrific. And one thing I do love about this book is when Saroo's talking about his brother's life, it does it with so much compassion and recognizes that when his brother arrived, Saroo's life was kind of put out joint for a little bit. So he used to being the only child in his family. Now he's got a brother who actually needed more help, okay, and attracted bullies and everything else. So there is resentment there, okay, as teenagers do growing up, but also compassion because he recognizes how difficult Mantosh's life is, and it does still happen. This is basically the story, okay, what happens when children of abuse as they're growing up, and the fact that Mantosh has clearly had some issues in the past as well. And if he ever sees this, Mantosh Brierley, I really hope you're doing better now. And I'm so sorry what happened to you in your past. Okay, so here we are. This bit here. This comes, okay, when they're talking about Sue, okay, Sue Brierley, and the reason why she adopted. It's quite an important thing to even discuss. Because of it being through growing up, Mum had decided that there was something sacrosanct about families being formed by birth. They brought up Catholic in a culture where women were expected to have children. She and Dad thought the world had already enough people in it already, with so many millions of children in dire need. They agreed then there were other ways to create a family beyond having children themselves. Right, but back then, you couldn't have adopt a child, if you were actually fertile. If you were both fertile as a couple, you couldn't actually adopt. Right. Okay. It took some time again for years for that to pass. So the fact is that the Brileys struggled to adopt took a really long time, and the Brileys are wonderful people. So, and when it comes to Saroo growing up, it's very interesting too because his place in the world. Now remember, he is, he was lost after all. And when he grows up and goes to college and actually expands his sphere, it's quite interesting too because for a while he was like the only Indian like in his school, and then as he got old and expanded, his group became a bit more diverse. And for a while he actually felt a bit slighted, like he didn't actually feel special, funny enough. And then Mantosh came along, and then he's got a brother, so So when he finally gets to college and actually meets people from India, he's trying to find his place in it. Now remember, they're actually from India, as so is he. But the thing is, he's had an Australian education. He doesn't really speak the language anymore, and he does struggle with that incidentally, trying to find literally his group, which I absolutely love. That he does feel at his core quite displaced as well. Here we are. I was drawn to them for the same reason that they were from the same place as me. Some of them from the very city which I've been lost. They toured the same streets and had been on the same trains. It responded to my interest in them and welcomed me to their social circle. I lived this group from people that, at the age of 26, I began for the first time to generally explore being Indian. I then in a political, academic way, on the awkward manner of the well-meaning associates my parents had tried out. I meant by trying to feel more comfortable with just living in the Indian students' culture and company. We eat Indian food, go clubbing together, take trips to nearby towns, or gather at someone's house to watch Hindu masala movies. There's wonderful Hollywood blends of action, romance, comedy, and drama. Right, it wasn't force of force, it's a natural way of being. So, and the people I met weren't associated with adoption agencies or trauma. There's regular people who happen to be Indian. That's the thing. Regular people, because imagine at this point in his life, everyone has actually met from his culture who was Indian has the trauma of adoption associated with them too. Interesting. It's with Saroo trying to find his place in this world, basically regarding his, his degree in hospitality. He does that for a while. He winds up moving back home to Hobart to actually working with his father's business. He's very, very good at that. Just trying to find out a place in this world, but feeling also displaced because mentally he's always thinking, okay, of the search for his mother. This bit here that turns it all around. I became aware of a map that actually would allow you so me to roam the landscape, and it could be done from the security of my study chair, Google Earth. Many people probably remember the first experience of Google Earth. The satellite imaging meant anyone could look at the world from above, sweeping across it like an astronaut. You can even view whole continents, countries, or cities, or search for place names, and then zoom in on the details you're interested in, rendering is close up in astonishing detail, the Eiffel Tower, or Ground Zero, or your own house. Yeah, here you go. In fact, that seemed to be everyone was typically doing first, zeroed in on what they lived and saw, and what it looked like from above, like a bird or a god. Here you go. When I heard of Google Earth could do, my heart raced. Might my childhood home be visible? If I worked out where to look, Google Earth could have been invented for me. The perfect tool. I got my computer and began searching. And this is the thing, he's searching. But the fact is, all he has is the name Ginter's Tally. Okay? That's all he has. And he managed to work out the station he was on and then the route. But remember, he crossed trains several times and he was 5 years old. He was so confused about this. It became an obsession. An obsession that he actually hid from his parents in the end. But the thing is, his girlfriend at the time was very, very supportive of this. Right. And not just decay or try and track it down. He's then got to deal with the issue is my mother still alive? Is my family still there? So it's an absolute miracle, okay, of invention and science and technology, okay, that this could even happen. Right. I mean, now Google Maps is so easy. It's unbelievable. But back this was such a new invention. Now Google Maps is actually, you could go back through the years. But this bit here, right. I zoomed out, discovering the train line skimmed the northwest of a really large town. I clicked on a blue train station symbol to reveal its name. It was Burrenpal. My heart nearly stopped. Burrenpal? They recognised the town, but then I'd never been in it. They left the platform. I zoomed back and examined the ring road, the water tower, the overpass. They were all positioned where I remember them. That meant not too far away, just up the line, I could find my home. Guinness Day. Okay? Right. I was afraid to do so. I let the cursor pull the image north along the train line. And he does actually find it. He does actually find the place. But the thing is this. It's the actual name itself. And this is the thing, right, is the sheer fact he almost overlooked it. He almost overlooked his hometown by sheer just not understanding the situation, okay? But this bit here. Still see nothing, okay, like Gintersley come up on the map. I was a strange feeling and one that I became familiar with over the next year or so. Part of me doubted I was sure it was the right place, but for the right time I've been sure the name Gintersley. Quanda rang no bells whatsoever. Maybe Gintersley was a part of Quanda. A suburb? That's impossible. Right. But the thing is, it is. He was from Quanda. Gintersley or Guinness Charlie is basically the suburb of where he lived. He spent all his time looking for one thing when the other option, which he didn't actually know. Remember, he was 5. This man put those few fragmented images together and managed to build up that picture using Google Earth. It's incredible and it's insane. I actually remember when the story came out, a man uses Google Earth after 25 years to find his hometown. It's absolutely amazing. And then, of course, as soon as he's found the place, doubts start creeping in, and they can't help it. And this bit here, this is when a kid sends an email to the Facebook group. Can someone tell me the name of the town or suburb on the top right side of Kandwa? It starts with a G. Not sure how you spell it, but I think it goes like Guinnessly. The town is Muslim one side and Hindu on the other, which was 24 years ago. Might be different now. It took another day to get the answer, but when the answers came, it was heart-stopping. Ganesh Tali. He's found his home. And one thing I absolutely loved, is when he called his mum and dad, they were worried, of course, but it all lined up. And the fact is, he went over there with their support and blessing. They were probably aware he may not find what he was looking for, but they recognised that Saroo needed to do this. He had to do it. It was important to him, just to answer all the questions that he had. And he made it clear how much he loves his parents, the Brierleys, but he had to do this for himself. And when he does finally come home, okay, of course, for those who've seen the film, he finds it empty. And this bit here is suddenly he finds he's walking the streets of Ganesh Tali, and then suddenly he turns and finds the house that they used to live in. Here we are. The rough brick walls are familiar, but the ground level went up plastered with cheap concrete and whitewashed. A doorway to the corner room was exactly the right place, but the door itself was broken. It was the size of a window in Australia. I couldn't see much through the cracks in the door, so I turned around the corner and peered in through the sole window, barely 30 centimetres square. I couldn't believe that my mother, sisters, sister, brother and I, though not all at once, had occupied this tiny space inside, perhaps 3 metres square. But they did. They absolutely did. And the thing is, when he comes across that man who wonders who he is, shows him the picture, and finally after 25 years, Saroo Brierley is meets his mother again. And this bit broke me. It absolutely broke me. Because he sees her, and the way he describes her is this. She was slender and seemed so small, with greying hair pulled back in a bun, and wearing a bright yellow floral dress. Despite the years, I knew her fine bone structure of her face. I looked back at her, and in that moment she knew me too. We looked at each other for a second longer, and I felt a start stab of grief. It took a mother and son so long to recognise each other. Then a much of joy that we now had. He stepped forward and took my hands and held them. I was thinking clearly enough to understand that whatever turmoil I was feeling, I'd have some chance to prepare. For my mother, 25 years after losing him, her son has simply reappeared. And poor Kamla, just poor Kamla. She was embraced Islam. She changed her name to Fatima. And she never left the hometown because she was convinced her son was still out there. Her Saroo was still coming home. And she never left the hometown. Which is so heartbreaking, because for 25 years, she rode train stations. She rode the rails looking for her son. And it was difficult because at this time there wasn't a picture of him, incidentally. But she knew, our heart knew her baby was still alive. It absolutely knew. Okay. And then, on the same night that Saroo went missing, Gooda died. And that's the most heartbreaking thing. Gooda hadn't come home early that night. I was lost. My mother found out a few weeks later that he had died in a train accident. She lost 2 of her sons on the same night. I could imagine how she bore it. On the same night, Gooda was hit by a train and died. And Saroo was on her way to the capital. What a nightmare for that mother. That poor woman. How she suffered. She suffered so badly. It's god awful. And yet our heart knew. Our heart held on to hope that her baby was still out there. Her Saroo was still out there. And one thing I absolutely love about Fatima, that's the name that Saroo's mother has now after she converted her faith. It's the love she has for the Brierleys as well. There's a wonderful bit in the film we actually can see Sue Brierley and Fatima actually meeting for the first time, and the love in their eyes. They don't speak the same language, but they recognise each other's love. Fatima was so grateful to the Brierleys and recognises that there's more love to go around. They had her son for 25 years, and she's grateful to them for raising him and loving him too. This bit here. My family is true and genuine, as we are in Australia. My mother has thanked you, Mum and Dad, for bringing me up. My brother and sister and Mum understand that you and Dad are my family and don't want to intervene in any way. They are happy knowing that I'm alive, and that's all they want. I hope you know, guys, you guys are first for me, which will never change. Love you. As a technically sent to his parents the night he found his family. And the fact is this, the media interest, because I remember this so well, the media interest reaction to this was absolutely fantastic. Come on, it's the most heartwarming story in history. A man uses Google Earth to find his way home. Come on, that's not feel good. But at the same time, the media interest really shocked Saroo. It shocked him. He had no idea how to prepare for this. No one ever prepared you for what's it going to be when the world's media is looking at you and your mother Fatima and this small village in India, which suddenly became one of the most famous places on the map. Here we are. This bit here. It hadn't crossed my mind that my return would cause such a fuss, and I wasn't remotely ready for it. It made an emotional, demanding situation even more, but I found something wonderful in it too. There are more than 1 billion people in India, and there are kids roaming the streets, but no one cares for them. You can seem a chaotic, even harsh place. Yet here in Ganesh Tali, the fact that the whole country, people could get wildly excited, because just one of those lost children managed to reconnect with their family after such an incredibly long time. That's the thing. Saroo's family gives you hope. Saroo's story gives you hope that all those lost children will one day find their way home. That's it. So, and the fact is, now that he's found Fatima, now that he's found his mother, now what to do next? They've got 25 years of life to catch up on. And one thing I absolutely love is, the thing about Fatima is, after she lost her 2 children and left with her younger ones, in a weird kind of karmic twist, is their family fortunes increased. With 2 mouths no longer in the house, with Saroo and Guda gone, Fatima was able to send her other 2 children to school. They've worked hard in their careers, they've got good jobs, they've got good standing, they're not in poverty as a labourer like Fatima was. She made so many sacrifices for them, and she's very proud of her younger 2 children, of course. But the thing is that Fatima does not want to leave India. It's where her family are, her children are. Okay? And this bit here. Mother always told me I was welcome to stay with her, but she understood now I lived as a Westerner. I needed space and amenities her tiny flat couldn't provide. I thanked her for her generosity, but told her it would be better for me to make use of the hotel. It wasn't too far away. So I dropped the bags at the Hotel Grand Barak and had a taxi driver take me to join her and my family in Ganesh Charlie. But the thing is what Saroo does is do right by his family. Now, after 25 years, he's returned, has now been the eldest boy, he's not ahead of it. He has built his mother a home of her own, made sure that she doesn't want for anything. Okay, essentially, this woman grieved for 25 years for a lost baby, and now he's returned and gonna make sure she never suffers again, because that poor woman suffers so much in her life that it's absolutely heartbreaking. For 25 years, and our heart knew that Saroo was still alive. Come on. She absolutely breaks my heart, and she is a beautiful woman. Absolutely. So, there's a picture, sorry, let's show it. Okay? There, you can see it. That's a picture of her. You can see that. What she went through is so heartbreaking. I'm so sorry for her. So, but the thing is when Saroo is asked to retrace the steps, retrace the journey that he went on, and winds up back in Calcutta, was he actually retraces the steps. One of the orphanages he was in is now women's shelter, wasn't allowed to film in there. This bit here, Miss Sood was only still alive but still working for the ISSA. I made arrangements to visit her in office. I linked up a Maya Bengali translator and took a taxi through the mad traffic dust and stink of untreated sewage. The fact that this incredible woman, after so many decades, is still helping families, people find their families. And the fact is, this bit here, Miss Sue's eyes widened when I walked in and introduced myself. We shook hands and embraced. She was now in her 80s, but she said she remembered me well from when I was a child, despite the number of children who have passed through her care since then. So, the fact that there are so many people out there, like Miss Sood, people out there, okay, who cared about Saroo, to find him on the streets, and take him to a place where he could be safe, and then to Hobart and to the Brierleys. And now that Saroo Brierley himself is a motivational speaker, he talks about this, charity as well, because he actually found out quite late his name actually isn't Saroo Brierley. It's Shamu, which translates as a lion. And I'm sorry for this emotional review, but doing this review broke my heart. The film makes me sob. The film stars Dev Patel as the adult Saroo Brierley. And I am so sorry for what he went through, for what Mantosh went through, what children are still going through. And I'm so sorry for Kamala, now Fatima, for on one night losing two of her sons, and then by a miracle, 25 years later, he walks through the door. So, anyway, I'm going to take a break. I'm signing off here. Bye now. Lion by Saroo Brierley, by the way, read it.